Good morning everybody. It is 9:15 on August 24th, a Monday, and it is a day unlike any I've ever seen. We are now down about 9% in 5 days on the entirety of the market. SPY just rolled over again and had a huge sell-off, losing $2 in about 10 minutes. This throws all charts out the window that were done over the weekend in terms of looking for support and everything, but my mindset is still the same, in the sense that we are going to be looking for a bounce, as this is extremely overdone. There's going to be a hard, quick bounce, and we are going to try and time it. We're going to watch the 5-minute charts and put stop losses very tight so that if the market does roll over again, we are protected. And I think that is a good strategy for protecting yourself while fishing for the bounce, which, like I said, is going to happen. It will happen. So this is SPY on the 5-minute chart. Right now we are down below 188. It's insane. I'm not even going to look at, well, I guess we'll look at weekly charts for finding support from way back when, or looking at moving averages that are more likely to be hit now. So I will pull up the weekly chart here, as the 5-minute chart isn't going to help us by finding support. So we've got the weekly chart. 100-week moving average was 192.81. We blew right through that support. 200-week moving average is 165, so there's a long way to go before that. On the dip back in October, which was extremely overdone, and that was 10% in 4 weeks. We are now, as I said, at about 8 or 9% in 5 days. So that just shows you the magnification, how insane this is. We had a low of 179.25 that week, so that could be a target we're looking at. 179.25. And yeah, it's almost leaving me speechless in terms of how drastic this sell-off is and how the panic it's going to cause in the average investor. Right now, what it looks like, you have the China excuse and all that, which I'm sure there's definitely a huge factor in there, but it looks to me like every time something like this happens, it's the billionaires and 100 millionaires and all that liquidating all their positions, causing the market frenzy, and then either reinvesting and having the stock bounce, or we'll see what they do. But it's definitely huge money making Main Street scared and profiting on it. That's really what it is. This is October. This is the 4-week big sell-off, and look at the bounce that happened after it. 6 weeks in a row green, just huge bounce, incredibly quick. It's, in my opinion, this was large money liquidating, getting the fear exactly where they wanted it, and then reloading and laughing all the way to the bank as the market set a new high. I'm pretty cynical on my view of the stock market overall, which is, interesting considering I'm a trader, but it's definitely a place of unfair and shady practices for the mega rich. But anyways, let's get into some specific stocks here. I'm done my rant. We've got 10 minutes before the bell. Let's look at Apple on the 5-minute time frame. We've got the $100 psychological level of support, which has fallen pre-market. We're going to be watching that as resistance now. Apple did find a low and then bounced, and then the market rolled over again, and Apple is not responding to a lower low yet of the market rolling over, so that's something worth noting. I'm also watching Suni for a bounce. As I've said, there have been some insider buys on the open market. Another 8% down today. It's lost. It was at $32 5 weeks ago. The weekly chart is insanely oversold. The daily chart is now even more insanely oversold, and there's going to be a nice bounce here, but not yet apparently. So definitely still watching Suni. Definitely still watching GoPro. All the pattern watch list that was posted over the weekend is still being watched. If we get a close in Suni above $10 today, that will maintain the $10 psychological level support, and we will take it from there. but as of right now, $10 is resistance. So looking at PCLN, we have some members. Some members are still short some plays, and they are actually rolling in very sweet gains. So congratulations to them, anyone that was short. Obviously, I wish, on Friday I was more advocating short, but I couldn't possibly do that in good conscience, knowing the likelihood of a bounce compared to the likelihood of a 4% drop today, which we are seeing. And, I'm not going to flex my ego or anything. I completely could not have seen this coming, and not many people could, but the ones that could are making very good money off of it. So PCLN right now has a bid of 1150. I'm going to look at the weekly chart for when PCLN was previously trading at this level. I pointed out PCLN and GoPro as showing the most signs of a bounce on Friday out of any of the stocks I was looking at. So if we're at 1150, we've got the 50-week moving average support at 1159, so we'll call that 1160. So keep your eye on the 1160 level. The previous pullback, I'll pull up the weekly chart so you can follow along with me here. The previous pullback was down here at 1103. So still, if we can set a low below 1103, we're still in a nice uptrend for PCLN on the weekly long-term chart. So keep your eye on 1160 by the end of the day. If 1160 is closed above, it might signify that the weekly chart is finding support on the 50-week moving average. Let's switch over now to Facebook that is getting killed. Facebook did set a new low when the market rolled over pre-market here. So that right there, you can see that Apple didn't and Facebook did. So we see that Apple is stronger than Facebook in the pre-market. Let me show that to you. So there's Facebook setting a new low exactly when the market rolled over. Looking on the weekly chart of Facebook, we see it bounced off the middle Bollinger Band last week, but it is going to fall right through that this morning. So we are looking at the 50-week moving average of 80.92, and we are currently below it, so that is resistance. But again, still in an uptrend as long as this low is higher than 76.79. That's what we're looking at back here. So as long as we find support and a bounce off that level, we're still maintaining higher highs and higher lows. So the market is not, falling as much as it seems like it's falling off a cliff here. There are still supports in place. We're not free falling. Looking at SPY here, we had the previous low we can call 194.95, which we're obviously below, and this big level that I pointed out again, the dip in October. It'll be very interesting to see how that level gets reacted to. Let me check in the chat. XIV for Soren, this is the inverse of VIX, and it is falling off cliff as well. So XIV we've got on the weekly chart falling below the 100-week moving average support last week. It is going to open at about 24. Good Lord, so that's falling below the 200-week moving average and below this low down here. This low was 24.75. Keep your eye on that level. We had a double bottom here as the low in October hit that level, and then it tested it as double bottom support and bounced. So that's a key level, 24.75. A close would be above that level today could signal that that is some good support. SPY bounce off 187. We'll have to see. Again, we're going to be watching the 5-minute chart this morning as usual, and we're going to be stocking for these bounces. And the first sign of a bounce, any long positions are going to have very tight stop losses, either at break even or just below break even. And that is going to allow us to either nail this bounce or get stopped out without a loss. As of right now, by all means, if you're feeling the market is going to keep tanking and rolling over, go short. I'm not going to stop you, obviously. You're free to make your own trades. I just cannot possibly go short in a market that is down 8% in 5 days. HD. Home Depot recently hit a high. Not much pre-market volume, $111 right now. Let's look at the weekly chart for HD support. So the middle Bollinger Band is 113.19. If we get a dip and then a close above that, that'd be a really good sign for HD. But we have the 110 as support here, as you can see on this little pullback. So keep your eye on 110 support for HD. Let's look at Google. We got 4 minutes here before the market opens. Google's down at 577. So we've got the weekly middle Bollinger Band at 566. That could be a bounce target. And again, Google's looks fine. Google could trade all the way down to 540 and still be maintaining a higher low. So it's just a question of, are these mega billionaires going to be liquidating all their positions, creating a huge amount of fear, and then, you know, pouring back into the market with buys to nail the bounce themselves. Baba. Frightened to even look on stocks that don't have previous price history to go off of 60. Good lord. So yeah, there's nothing I can say on Baba. There's nothing to look back at. It's getting killed, and it's going to have to wait to find support. Maybe at the psychological 60 level, maybe at the psychological 50 level. I couldn't say. There's nothing to look back at to see where we're looking at on Baba, unfortunately. Twitter's in the same boat. No previous price history to find support. Alright, we've got 2 minutes here. It's going to be a wild first thing in the morning, as you can imagine. We are seeing a little SPY bounce. And again, we're going to be looking at Sunni, GoPro, pretty much any of the stocks we've been looking at, Apple, any of them, looking for the bounce. And oh man, Apple is at 96. Let's see, I'm going to pull up the Apple weekly chart here for myself very quickly as we are running out of time. 96. We had the previous low at 103, so that got smashed. We had the October low of 93.58, and we have the 100-week moving average support of 98.62. So we are watching 93.68 and 96.82 on Apple, and we are going to be watching for any sort of bounce because this selling is very overextended, as I keep saying. 1 minute to go here. I will see you guys in the chat. Stop losses, stop losses, stop losses. If you don't have a stop loss and you're playing this market, you need to get poked in the eye.